Hey friends, welcome back to the YouTube channel. My name is Bond, this is Oleg, and we're gonna review a Moonwatch. 3 of them. The other day I got a phone call from my Omega AD, shout out to them, check them out if you're in downtown Vancouver. They said, hey Oleg, would you like to review the new Moonwatch? I said, of course I do. I was there the next day. When I got in, I was greeted not with 1, but 3 different Moonwatches. The rose gold one, the platinum one, and the stainless steel one. Now this review is going to focus mainly on the stainless steel version because, let's be honest, that's the version that we're all interested in. That's the OG version. That's the most interesting version to all of us. However, when you're offered a chance to play with some really nice and expensive watches, you're going to say yes. So in this video, all 3 will be featured, but we're mainly going to focus on the stainless steel version. If you're a casual Omega fan, you might be wondering what is such a big deal about this release. I mean, doesn't Omega release new Speedmasters left and right every year, multiple versions? What's such a big deal about this specific release? Well, there are few different types of Speedmasters, but there's only one Moonwatch. This is the Moonwatch. This is the most popular Omega watch. This is bread and butter of the brand. So when they refresh this model, it becomes a big deal. And that's why you see so many videos about it. That's why you read so many articles about it. And that's why a lot of watch enthusiasts are really excited about this release, because they don't update these watches all that often. The last update was in 1996. 25 years? That's a long time for the watch to stay the same. Since these watches are so iconic, it's difficult to refresh the design without pissing everybody off. Rolex Submariner in 41mm. I think Omega did a pretty good job of capturing the spirit of the Moonwatch, yet creating a more modern version of this watch. Looking at the dial and the design alone, it's kind of difficult to tell whether you're looking at the 3861 version, that's the new version, or whether you're looking at the 1861, the older version, because the 2 versions are so similar, especially that Hasselite version where it has a printed Omega logo versus a Sapphire version, it has an applied Omega logo. Sapphire version was the version that I was actually reviewing. So yes, the watch is available with Hasselite and Sapphire crystals. Hasselite, not as durable, a little bit more scratch prone, but it gives that nice vintage, a warm look to the watch, versus Sapphire is a little bit cooler, but more durable, more scratch resistant. Also, as I mentioned, on the Sapphire version, you will see applied Omega logo on the dial. It is a little bit more expensive, $700 more, 700 US dollars more. In Canadian dollars, that's almost $1,000 difference. But I think it is worth it because of what you get on the back of the watch. You get a see-through case back, which displays this new Omega movement, which we'll talk about in a second. There's a slight thickness difference between the 2 versions. Hasselite is slightly thicker because it has more dome on its crystal. It's not overly noticeable because it is all on the crystal. When you wear it on the wrist, it pretty much disappears. And the variability of this watch is great. It has that classic 42mm diameter. It's 47mm from one lug to another, 13.2mm thick for that Sapphire version, and I think it's like 13.6 or 13.7mm thick for the Hasselite version, so not a big difference there. And it has a 20mm opening, which means finding straps for this watch would be super easy, because looking at the case design, looking at the bezel, it all appears to be your standard issue Moonwatch territory. You have your aluminum bezel insert with the dot over 90, a nod to vintage Omega Speedmasters. The case still features that turn lug design, very iconic, very synonymous with Speedmaster watches. I'm really glad that Omega didn't tinker with the design of this watch too much. It looks and feels like your standard Moonwatch, except for the bracelet. So the bracelet actually features smaller links than the previous version of the Speedmaster. I like the design of the bracelet on the previous model more. However, I do have to admit this version is more comfortable. I also like the taper of the bracelet and the clasp. The clasp has this vintage throwback to it, 2-push release, looks really nice, feels vintage inspired, but feels very modern and very comfortable. The clasp only has 2 micro adjustments. If I were to redesign this watch, redesign the bracelet, I would add more micro adjustments. 2 micro adjustments, it's okay, but it could be better, it could be slightly improved. Now is a good time to mention that the watch is also available on the rubber strap and the leather strap. Both versions would be cheaper than the stainless steel option. If you're talking about precious metals, that's going to be way cheaper on a leather strap or a rubber strap as opposed to the precious metal bracelet version. However, I would go for the bracelet version, especially on these stainless steel models. The bracelet, even though I like the design of the older one more, it is still an excellent bracelet. It's fantastic, and it's definitely worth paying that a little bit extra for the bracelet as opposed to going for the rubber strap, because you can always buy an extra rubber strap or put it on a NATO or have it on a leather strap, and you can get aftermarket straps. It's super easy, 20mm lug width, no problem there. But finding this bracelet later on might be a bit of an issue, so definitely go for the stainless steel bracelet version. The biggest change to the watch really comes internally. The movement is completely different. It's upgraded. It's this new modern movement. Now, I'm not going to pretend to know too much about movements because I looked all this stuff up, but I do know that this watch has a silicon balance spring which helps with anti-magnetism, and it's also, I believe, the future of watchmaking. I think in the next 10 years we'll see more and more watch manufacturers, especially high-end watch manufacturers, move towards silicon balance springs. That's the future. I should have probably mentioned the name of the movement before I talked about the balance spring. So it's caliber 3861. It's the upgrade from the 1861 that was featured in the previous Omega Speedmaster models. Looking at the two movements side by side, it would be kind of difficult to tell which movement you're looking at. There are some slight differences, but both movements are well decorated. They have rhodium plating, they have exposed jewels, they have decorative stripes. Both movements are very attractive to look at, and that's why I say you should go for that sapphire version, because you can see the movement, you can really appreciate the movement. It has 26 jewels, beats at 21,600 vibrations per hour. It has 50 hours of power reserve. It's a coaxial movement with the MATAS certification, which is very impressive. We actually seen this movement, and I've talked about this movement before when I talked about the latest Snoopy release, and that watch has this exact movement. I was talking about how this movement is the future for Omega, and what do you know? Now it's featured in their Moon watch, and I think it's going to be featured in more of their Speedmaster watches because this movement is fantastic. It's Master Chronometer certified, it's MATA certified. All you need to know, very accurate, very durable, probably needs less servicing. If I had one of these watches, I would definitely be using that chronograph function all the time. Some chronographs, you feel like the chronograph function is there, but you don't really want to use it. It feels fragile. It feels like it's gonna break, so you just reserve it for special occasion. With this one, it does feel like a workhorse movement. It does feel very robust. It does feel like you want to press it and you're confident in pressing and running the chronograph, and you know that nothing is going to happen to it. It's a tough, robust movement, and it feels like it. What about precious metals? What's the difference between the stainless steel version and the precious metals versions, other than the price, of course? Well, there are two differences. Number one, the design and the overall look. So you have your rose gold version with the black dial, which looks very attractive. In fact, this is probably my favorite version if I weren't going for the stainless steel version, which I probably would be going because of the price. But if money was no object, I probably would consider this rose gold version because it looks so cool, it looks so unique, and it kind of fits with the design of Omega Speedmaster watch. Even though Omega Speedmaster is a very tough, robust watch, it only has 50 meters of water resistance, and let's be honest, we're not really doing any sporting activities in our Speedmasters. So having it in precious metal is not too much of a stretch, and I really do like the design of it. We also have the platinum version, or what Omega calls Canopus Gold. That's their proprietary gold blend, but it's essentially platinum. Now, the difference between this version and the stainless steel version, number one, the coloring. So this one actually has a sterling silver dial. It has that silver dial as opposed to the black dial on the stainless steel Moon watch, and it also has a lot of heft. So one big difference that you will notice between these precious metal versions and the stainless steel version, the heft of the watch. On the wrist, it feels more solid, it feels very hefty, it feels very substantial, and that's not to say that the stainless steel version doesn't feel hefty and substantial, but these ones just feel on another level. When you hold one in your hand, you can feel that it is a precious metal. It doesn't feel like stainless steel at all. In terms of the finishes and the looks, all of them are finished about the same. They have that brushing and they have the polished finishes, nice alternation between the two, nice sharp angles, the same case design, the same movement, pretty much everything else other than some styling cues differences and the type of metal used. So that's it. That's the review of the new Omega Speedmaster Moonwatch. What do I think about it? I love it. I think Omega has nailed it with this release. It walks that fine line between being true to its original nature, to the original Moonwatch, yet upgrading and updating all the important aspects of the watch, especially that movement. So I think bravo, well done. And the price raise is somewhat justified because you do get a much better movement in the watch, and the watch overall feels nice and refined. I appreciate you watching this video until the end. Please give it a thumbs up if you enjoyed it, subscribe to the YouTube channel, and leave a comment in the comment section below. Let me know what you think about these new Omega Speedmaster releases. Do you love them? Do you hate them? Are you gonna buy one? Are you not gonna buy one? Let me know. I'm always curious to read your comments. By the way, today on my wrist, I'm wearing my Omega Tango Mat. I did a full review of this watch. That video can be found on the YouTube channel. I will also leave it linked in the description below. Also in the description below, there are a couple of other links. There is a link to bondnativestraps.com, and there is a secret link. Have a look if you're curious. Thanks for watching this video. I hope you enjoyed it. I hope you had fun, and I'll see you guys next time. And a big shout out to Omega Boutique for letting me review and test out these watches. Bye. Are you ready to film? Are you ready to go? Or you just want to sit on my lap and not do anything? Not talk about watches, just yawn and nap. I think that was your plan all along. You don't want to do any work.